Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a bit of a confession.
Hmm.
I spent about 20 minutes this morning standing in line at a coffee shop, just debating whether to buy a fancy latte. $6.50.
The internal battle.
A full-on battle. I did the mental math. I'm thinking about inflation, the compounding interest I'd lose if I just invested it, and it was all over a cup of coffee.
And let me guess.
Yeah.
By the time you actually ordered it, the coffee didn't even taste that good because you just stressed yourself out over the whole transaction.
Exactly. It tasted like guilt, but it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And it highlights exactly why we're doing this today.
Mm-hmm.
We, as a society, are absolutely obsessed with money, but we obsess over the wrong side of the equation.
Totally. It's all about the earning.
Endless podcasts, books on how to make money, how to hustle, how to invest it, compound it, but almost nothing on the art of actually spending it.
It is a massive, massive blind spot in our culture. We spend our entire lives learning how to accumulate resources. We're taught to be rich in money. But the research we're looking at today, this Ultra Master Edition on the art of spending, it argues that because we ignore the skill of spending, most of us end up rich in assets.
But poor in experience.
Exactly. Incredibly poor in experience.
And that's the distinction we're tackling. We're exploring a framework that's specifically designed to fix this gap. The mission today is to take you from being a conscious consumer, which is fine,
It's a good start.
but limited, and move you toward becoming what the material calls a lifestyle artist. But before the solution, we have to look at the problem. The authors say most people are stuck in one of the three wealth tragedies.
And these hit painfully close to home for a lot of people. The first is the accumulation trap.
Okay.
This is the person who spends a lifetime gathering wealth, just hoarding it like a dragon on a pile of gold. They have the resources, they have a high score in the bank account.
But it never turns into anything.
It never converts into actual life value.
Yeah.
It just sits there waiting for a someday that never ever comes.
I think we all know someone like that. They're always waiting for retirement to start living, but by the time they get there, they've, forgotten how to enjoy themselves.
Precisely. Then you have the second tragedy, the guilt paradox. This is incredibly common, especially among high achievers.
I feel seen.
Right.
Yeah.
You're financially secure. The math says you can afford the nice dinner, the vacation, but when you actually spend the money, you feel physically ill or morally wrong.
It's that voice in your head that's like, you shouldn't be wasting this, save for a rainy day,
Yeah.
even when it is sunny outside.
Right. And the third is the consumption illusion. This is mistaking mindless buying for artful living.
The Amazon package you forgot you ordered.
That's the one. You're spending, sure, you're clicking buy now,
No.
but it's doing nothing for your soul. It's consumption without any fulfillment.
So to get out of those traps, the framework gives us this core equation. And usually, I kind of glaze over when we talk about equations in the show.
Yeah.
But this one actually simplifies things beautifully.
It does. So the equation is wealth fulfillment equals your financial resources, multiplied by your spending intelligence.
Yeah.
All divided by your psychological barriers.
Let's break that down because the math implies something really interesting. Financial resources, that's just what's in the bank, the part everyone focuses on.
Correct. But look at the multiplier. Spending intelligence. If you have $10 million, but your spending intelligence is 0, you have no idea how to convert that money into joy.
Yeah.
Your fulfillment is 0.
0 times 10 million is still 0.
Still 0. And then you have the divider.
The psychological barriers.
Exactly. So if your guilt, your fear, your anxiety, if those are high, they act as a denominator. They divide your fulfillment down to a fraction. You could spend $1 million on a vacation, but if your anxiety is at a 10, your fulfillment is tiny.
So our whole goal in this deep dive is to drive up the intelligence and drive down those barriers.
That's the mission.
Okay, so to do that, the material says we have to start with the psychology. We can't just jump into budgeting apps. We have to look at the behavior. The text identifies 7 spending archetypes. I read through these and I swear I felt personally attacked by at least 3 of them.
It's usually a bit of a mirror, yeah. It helps you identify which mask you're wearing.
Let's talk about the accumulator first. This one seems like the default setting for anyone who thinks of themselves as responsible with money.
On the surface, yes. The accumulator is driven entirely by security. Their core belief is money is safety. Spending is a threat.
So every time they swipe a card, even for something they need, it feels like they're making themselves vulnerable.
Deeply vulnerable. So they suffer from what the text calls scarcity spending. Even if they have millions, they live like they're one bad day away from ruin.
Wow. Okay, then you have the polar opposite, the compensator.
This is your classic retail therapy archetype. They use spending purely for emotional regulation.
I've been there. Bad day at work, you buy something, you get that little dopamine hit. But it's so fleeting, isn't it?
Fades in about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually leaves you with regret, which just restarts the whole cycle of feeling bad and needing another hit.
And then the performer. This is all about social status. The belief is, I am what I own.
Right, which leads to conspicuous spending. Buying the car, not because you love driving, but because you want the neighbors to know you can afford it.
Okay, what about the optimizer? This one is fascinating because on the surface, they look rational. This is the person who spends 3 weeks researching the perfect toaster.
Wait, are you the optimizer?
I am 100% the optimizer. I will read 400 reviews for a $20 item. I thought that was being smart.
It feels smart. But the text argues it's actually a form of paralysis. You're spending hours of your life, your most valuable resource, to save $2 or get a 1% better feature.
It's an efficiency.
That's it. You're valuing the object more than your own time.
Ouch. Okay, that stings a little, but it makes total sense. So if these are the traps, the hoarder, the performer, the anxious optimizer, what's the goal? Who are we trying to become?
We're trying to become the artist or the integrated spender. This is someone who views money not as safety or status or a scorecard, but as a tool like paint or clay for crafting an ideal life.
The artist sounds a little bit lofty, though. I mean, how does an artist actually behave differently on a Tuesday afternoon?
The artist basically removes the masks of the other archetypes. They don't spend out of fear or ego. They spend based on what the source calls a value hierarchy.
A value hierarchy.
They have a clear understanding of what actually yields a return on happiness for them.
Okay, let's dig into that hierarchy. The framework has 7 levels. Level 1 is survival, food, shelter. We all get that. But level 2 is where I think most people get stuck or just miss the point entirely.
Yeah.
Level 2 is time value.
The freedom currency. This is the whole concept of spending money to reclaim your time. And the data on this is so clear. Buying back time is one of the highest ROI moves you can make for your happiness.
Yet people are so reluctant to do it.
So reluctant.
Because it feels lazy, right? Or it feels stuck up. Hiring a cleaner, paying for laundry service, ordering groceries for delivery. You think, I could do that myself, so I should.
You could. But the question the artist asks is, should I? The framework suggests calculating your true hourly rate to make this decision.
And most people get this wrong.
Totally wrong. They just take their salary, divide by 40 hours a week.
But that ignores all the overhead of having a job.
Exactly. You have to subtract work expenses, taxes, commuting, clothes, and then you have to divide by the total time commitment, the commute, the getting ready, the recovery time you need after a stressful day.
Right.
When you do that, your real take-home hourly rate drops significantly.
Okay, so let's say I do the math and my true hourly rate is, I don't know, $30.
The framework offers the 3X rule. It suggests that if you can outsource a disliked task for less than 3 times your true hourly rate, you should probably do it.
Wait, hold on. 3 times. So if I make $30 an hour, the rule says I should be willing to pay up to $90 an hour to avoid cleaning my house.
It seems...
That feels mathematically wrong. Shouldn't it be a 1-to-1 swap? If I pay someone 30 and I earn 30, I break even. Why 90?
That's the common objection.
Yeah.
But you're forgetting the energy cost.
Yeah.
That's the hidden variable.
Energy costs.
Scrubbing your floors or fighting with customer service doesn't just take an hour of your time. It drains your mental battery. It makes you tired, irritable, less creative.
So I'm paying for the hour, but I'm also paying to save my sanity.
Exactly. You're not just getting an hour back. You're getting clarity and energy that you can reinvest into your career or your health or your relationships. You're buying a high-quality hour. That's why it's worth a premium.
That distinction, energy versus time, that's really helpful. Because, yeah, if I spend an hour scrubbing the floor, I am useless for the next hour anyway. Okay, so moving up the hierarchy. Level 6 is experience value.
Memory capital.
This is the old cliche, buy experiences, not things. But I have to push back a little here. A lot of people buy experiences and end up disappointed. You spend thousands on a vacation, it rains, the kids are screaming, the hotel is loud, and you come back thinking, I should have just bought a new TV.
And that happens because people treat experiences like products. They just buy them off the shelf and expect magic. The text offers an experience ROI formula to fix this.
That formula.
It says your experience satisfaction equals the sum of your anticipation joy, your presence quality, your memory value, and your story capital, all divided by the cost.
That's a lot of variables. I want to highlight that first one, anticipation joy. The material makes a huge deal about this.
It is so powerful. The research shows we get almost as much dopamine from looking forward to an event as we get from the event itself.
Wow.
So the artist deliberately front-loads that anticipation. They plan the trip months in advance. They talk about it. They look at photos of the destination. They're effectively extending the shelf life of that purchase by months before they even spend a dime.
So if you book a last-minute trip, you're actually robbing yourself of half the value.
You're cutting your ROI in half, exactly. You skip the whole anticipation phase.
And then on the back end, you have memory value and story capital.
Right. Story capital is just the ability to tell a good story about it later, to connect with people. Most people go on a trip and the photos just die on their phone.
Guilty.
The artist curates the album, frames the best picture, tells the stories at parties. That's how you make a one-week investment pay dividends for decades.
Okay, so we have the philosophy be an artist, we have the math buyback time, maximize experience. But how do we actually organize the bank account to do this? Because traditional budgeting feels like a diet. It implies restriction.
And that is exactly why it usually fails. The source rejects budgeting in favor of a conscious spending plan. It's a strategy, not a restriction. It breaks your income into 4 distinct buckets.
Let's run through them.
Okay, bucket 1 is fixed costs. 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, the boring stuff that keeps the lights on.
Got it. Bucket 2 is investments, 10 to 20%. That's paying your future self. Bucket 3, savings goals, 5 to 10% for short-term stuff, a wedding, a trip, a new car.
And then the game changer. Bucket number 4, guilt-free spending. This should be 20 to 35% of your income.
This is the part people struggle with. I struggle with this. Guilt-free sounds irresponsible to the accumulator in me. If I have 20% left over, shouldn't I put that into savings too, just in case?
No. And this is the critical mental shift. If you put that extra money into savings, you aren't being responsible. You're hoarding. You're falling right back into the accumulation trap.
Yeah.
The point of the plan is that because the other buckets are already full, bills are paid, retirement is funded, the money in this guilt-free bucket has one job, and its job is to be spent on things that bring you joy.
So if I don't spend it, I'm actually failing the system.
You're failing to execute the plan.
Exactly.
You're distorting the tool.
That is a heavy reframe. To help with that, the text suggests a permission threshold system to stop us overthinking every little purchase.
Right, because decision fatigue is a real killer of joy. The system suggests if a purchase is under $100 and it comes from that guilt-free bucket, you engage in zero deliberation. You just buy it.
Zero deliberation.
None.
Yeah.
You don't ask if you need it. You don't check Amazon for a cheaper price. You don't weigh pros and cons. If you want it and the money's in the bucket, you buy it, period.
That sounds incredibly liberating, but also terrifying for the optimizers out there.
It is liberating
Dang.
because it frees up your brain space. Now, if it's between $100 and $500, you do a brief value alignment check. Does this fit my hierarchy?
Okay.
And if it's over $2,000, that's when you slow down. Consult a partner, write a one-page justification. The point is to save your mental energy for the big decisions, not the $6 coffee.
Speaking of decisions, we have to talk about physical stuff. We've talked a lot about time and experiences, but we still need shoes and computers and mattresses.
Of course.
The text has a quality decision matrix for this that I found immediately useful.
This is a great heuristic for when to go cheap versus when to spend. The first rule is my favorite. Between you and the ground.
Right. Never compromise on quality for things that separate you from the earth.
Shoes, tires, mattresses, and office chairs. If you think about it, you spend 99% of your life in contact with one of those 4 things.
And if they're bad, your health suffers. Back pain from a bad mattress, safety issues with bad tires.
Exactly. It's a health investment, not a luxury. Then you have frequently used tools, things you touch every day, your laptop, your chef's knife, your phone.
Buy the best you can afford.
Yes, because the friction cost of a slow computer or a dull knife that you use every single day adds up to a massive amount of frustration.
But on the flip side, for disposable items like party decorations, buy the absolute minimum functional quality. Don't waste money there.
And this all ties into the buy it once principle, looking at the total cost of ownership. A cheap pair of boots that hurts your feet and falls apart in one winter costs you more in the long run, financially and physically, than the expensive pair that lasts 10 years.
There was one specific strategy for hobbies that I thought was brilliant. I am notorious for starting a new hobby, buying all the best gear, and then quitting 3 weeks later.
The garage full of evidence.
Exactly. The three purchase rule seems designed specifically for me.
It's designed to protect us from our own enthusiasm. So, let's say you want to get into photography. Step 1, buy the cheap version. Or even better, borrow one. Use the entry-level camera.
Because I might hate taking pictures once the novelty wears off.
Precisely. Step 2, if and only if you use that cheap version until it breaks, or until your skill level genuinely outgrows it, then you're allowed to buy the quality version. You've proven the commitment.
And step 3.
Step 3 is the perfect, high-end, specialized version. You only buy this if you know exactly why you need it. This prevents gear acquisition syndrome, where people buy a $5,000 lens thinking it will make them a better photographer.
It won't.
It won't.
That is such a smart way to throttle spending without killing the joy of a new hobby.
Okay, I want to circle back to the biggest barrier we mentioned at the start, the psychology. Specifically, the guilt. Even with the buckets and the matrices, a lot of us just feel bad spending money on ourselves. The text has a permission protocol for this.
Yeah, the permission protocol is designed to rewire that guilt response. It's
Yeah.
processed to move from anxiety to enjoyment. It starts with clarity and alignment, knowing what you want, and checking if it fits your values.
Then affordability checking the buckets. If the money's in the guilt-free bucket, the math is neutral. It's safe.
But here's the crucial step, the guilt check. You have to pause and identify the trigger. Why do I feel bad? Is it my dad's voice in my head telling me to save pennies? Is it some vague societal pressure? You have to name it to tame it. And then step 5 is permission granting. You literally authorize yourself. Say the words, I am allowed to do this.
It sounds silly to say it out loud, but verbalizing it breaks the loop. And then once you spend, you must engage in mindful enjoyment. Be present.
Right.
Don't buy the nice dinner and then spend the whole time worrying about the bill. Pace the food. If you ruin the experience with worry, you've wasted the money and the money is gone.
And the final step is post-spending reflection. Did it deliver the value you expected?
This closes the loop. If it was great, you learn. If it was a letdown, you learn. That's how you build that spending intelligence.
It really is a comprehensive system. We've gone from the accumulation trap, where money is a prison, to understanding our archetypes, using the value hierarchy to buy back time, and implementing a conscious spending plan.
And that journey is what transforms you. You stop reacting to money and you start using it. You stop being a hoarder and you start being an artist.
You know, the text makes this powerful distinction at the end about how we measure success. It says we're all obsessed with net worth.
But we should be obsessed with life worth. Net worth is just a number on a spreadsheet. It's theoretical. Life worth is the richness of your experiences, the depth of your connections, the impact of your legacy.
You can have high net worth and low life worth.
That's a tragedy. And the whole goal of the art of spending is to maximize life worth.
I love that. And I want to leave our listener with the provocative thought that ends the document. It's a question I think we should all sit with this week, especially the next time we're debating a coffee purchase.
Money is clay. You are the artist. What will you create?
That's it for this deep dive. Go out there and sculpt something beautiful. We'll see you next time.